Well, welcome to a new format of Harry's Garage videos, because I thought it'd be fun to get experts in and we'll discuss a particular topic. And to kick it all off, I thought we'd start with looking at the cars, classic car and collector car market in 2016 and what actually happened out there. Because it's been quite a year, it's whizzed by, and it has changed the market. We've seen some cars flatten out and perhaps dip, and I put in that category the Carrera 2.7 RS and perhaps the Ferrari Testarossa, and others just zoomed away, took everyone by surprise. And if we look at the RM auction in London in September, we saw the Porsche 993 GT2 just reach a new crazy level, selling for 1.8 million, which was way above estimate. I've invited along Rob Johnson and Edward Legg from Classic and Sports Finance, because they get to see on a daily basis what's happening in the market from dealers, from auctions and in private treaty. So there's no better people to have here to know what's happening in the market. And if you're wondering where we are, well, we're in the Classic Car Hub, which is just down the road near Bybury in the Cotswolds, because it's a lot warmer in here than it is in my garage at home, and there's a coffee machine in the corner. So that's why we're here, and it's a fabulous place, as you can see. So we ought to get started, Rob. And if we kick off with the market, what were the cars that everybody wanted in 2016? What were the ones that were coming onto your table?
I don't think, actually, Harry, there's a specific run of models that we have seen regularly. But what we have seen in comparison to 2015 and 2014 is that more people are buying the cars they want to buy rather than the cars that have been performing on indices or markets or in auctions. So we did predict this at the end of 2015, where we felt, what was going to happen in 2016? What was the market going to do? Had it topped out? People were talking about values, drops in the market, which we haven't seen. But what we have seen is what we really felt was going to happen, Ed, wasn't it? Which was the right car, the right money from the right people. So no longer was it cars that were just racing away in value and buy any classic as long as it's a classic. It was a case of, what do I really want? What do I aspire to? What was on the bedroom wall when I was a kid? What represents good value for money?
I always use that, actually. When I'm buying a car, I always look for bang for buck. That's sort of, I'm a bit odd because I use my cars, and therefore I'm not going to buy anything just for the sake of it. I'm going to think, how am I going to use this car? So that's really good news, actually.
But we have seen that. We've seen people, the conversations we have is literally, I want to buy a car. I always say to people, Harry, buy the best you can with the money you got. Yeah. But a lot of people have actually been saying, but I want to use it. And I love that, because for many years we've had, I can't use that. It's only done 10,000 miles, so I better put it away. So we've moved away, thankfully, from cases like that. And we're seeing more and more people aspiring to good value cars.
Right across the market, any value point?
I think so. So if you said to a young boy, what's a classic car? He might say, that's an E-Type. Or a DB5. It is, but there's another generation of cars that are coming through from the 90s. The 80s are done, really. I think the 90s, and it's not just supercars. It's cars that were limited production, interesting cars, and cars that, as a boy and you were going out to buy your first car, you probably couldn't quite afford it, but you wanted it.
Well, I know from my days at Evo, I couldn't get over how few people actually fix cars or know actually how things are working. And I do wonder if that generation, if you get an 80s, 90s car, well, 90s and noughties car, they just work. They turn a key and they work, and you don't take it to the dealer. You're not actually fiddling around with them. And I wonder if that's the other reason we're seeing people just moving out of the car. So. They're put off with a DB5 that is constantly hassle.
It's hassle, it's expense, it's specialised, isn't it? The only worry or concern in the future, I think, with the modern classic is that the EC units are the new rust. That's going to be the problem.
Yeah, cars don't get rusty anymore.
No.
I'll tell you what we have seen, though, is beginning of 2016, end of 2015, people were saying pre-war, it's done.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of pre-war this year.
We have, because, again, people are looking at them. To own a pre-war car is a difficult. You've got to want to do it. It's not an easy car to manage. You cannot just pull it out the garage and use it. But they do represent great value for money. And if you've got an eye for some chrome and a bit of art, they're works of art for reasonable money. A 2025 Rolls-Royce Saloon for 50 to 60,000 pound, or a Tourer. You know, okay, you might not be able to use it 2 or 3 times a year, but if you've got an aspiration for something, they're great value. Really
We're a
good value.
very different flavour of cars, and I think, you know, that's the great thing of our hobby. You can go from pre-war to something crazy a la Ferrari at the other end, and we're all somehow meant to group them all together in this world of classic and
But
collector cars.
there's someone for every one of those stages through the process.
Yeah. So what's proved harder, do you think, to sell in 2016? What's sort of come off the boil then?
Well, top of the tree, really, Harry. I think the run on Testarossas, the run on 308 Ferraris, the run on big Astons, X-Packs and POW V8s will always be a desirable car because there's just not enough of them. But I think the mainstream runners have levelled off. And I think there's a couple of, not just because the interest in the market isn't there, but a lot more of them have been restored. So the availability is there. And I do think that maybe the people that were out there with the big checkbook have spent the money.
Yeah.
Still good car to own, still a lovely car to own, and values of them have stayed at a point, but I don't see the increase in those. And I'm not getting the feeling back from the market they will increase in value unless it's going to be a special car. I came across a one owner DB5 with a client who rang me last year to actually release some capital on the car. It's a one owner car he bought in 1962 with some inheritance, and he's still got it. That car has got amazing provenance, really. Yeah. And that
actually, with the Aston Martin owners, I have to say that I look at the Aston Martin market, and because of the limited numbers, it always feels like it's a good place to be buying because there just aren't the number of cars out there. No. Hence these V8s, you know, the POWs.
I think the only trouble I have with Aston Martin, those sort of V8s, they're highly appealing, but they need work. They're always needing work, aren't they? Yeah. So they're a bit of a drain. And there's some. We go right modern in Aston. You know, we were discussing the AM V8 and a Vantage V12. But I think that's a terrific car. You know, that you can own. It will always feel special, and I just can see that some of those modern limited run Astons are good places. At around 100,000 for one of those, I think it's a great place.
Even
to be.
Below that, Harry, a DB7 Dunhill or a DB7 GTA. Very few of them around. Nice collectible car for somebody to just pull out on a Sunday, use it reliably, relatively, and just enjoy the car at sensible money.
And also DB9, I suppose, isn't it? Because I just can't believe the value of those. A Volante DB9 or something like that.
Yeah, but have they made too many of those?
Yeah, the high production car.
Well, sorry, back to my point about the Aston Martins though. Because of the limited number of the Aston Martins, for me, they continue to sort of boil away nicely. With Ferrari, we have seen less activity in the Ferrari market this year, haven't we?
Yeah, certainly.
For sure, for the more modern Ferraris. Porsche 911, that's continued to do.
Yeah, the Porsche bucks the trend. Always has them.
We
always,
thought at the beginning of
always
this year, we thought, we're going to see a bit of a. I think, in fact, we did see a bit of a activity dipped away, and it's increased again.
Yeah.
Perhaps because of what went on at London, at the RM Sotheby's auction. So, the activity for Ferrari, I think, has quietened down, and that's been mainly the investors going. Actually, we've done all our investing for the time being, but now people are going, well, actually, is the momentum in the collector car hobby rather than the classic car hobby so great that we're going to start buying up modern, limited
cars of interest,
production cars, and just keep them. See what happens.
I think that I always find in this market it's like a spotlight, and a car that will appear in a spotlight. And it was in the beginning of 2015. It was the Testarossa. Whoa, look at that! And then you just spill out the spotlight, just picks up what's on periphery of Testarossa. So then that sort of moves up and stuff, and the spotlight goes away, and then the poor old Testarossa is sort of hanging there, and it sort of dips because it just slightly goes out of fashion, and but I think it will come back because it's such a usable car, and it's really special.
It's funny.
There's a good question though, Harry, is where who is moving the spotlight around?
Yeah.
What's influencing the market in that respect?
Who knows? I don't know.
Because we try and look at the prices, retail prices. So we go and look at what the dealer's selling cars for, but there are so many cars out there. The market is so enormous. Yeah. Where do you actually look? Yeah. And it's almost like that, whack-a-mole game where you look over there and there's one going up, and then all of a sudden you look away and there's another one coming up, and the other one's gone down. And that's half the fun of the market.
Oh, it is completely. Because maybe that's what pulled up Ferrari 550 prices. Because the Testarossa is worth that, then a 550 must be worth that. And I can see in 17. Well, I shouldn't be predicting what 17 is going to happen, but I just think the 599 is now looking too cheap against the 550 because it offers way more. But then I'm going too far forward.
Is that terrible man maths though, where you go, well, that's gone up, so the next one down's got to go up as well?
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
No, who knows?
Now, in 2015, it was very much about investment, wasn't it? Every phone call was...
It was defined direct line economics.
Yeah, and people were ringing up saying, which car should I buy? Which car should I invest in? Now we're seeing some of our big collector customers, they've come out of some of their big cars and they're coming in at the sort of affordable end of the market and having a little punt on stuff, going, do you know what, I'll buy that, it's only £30,000, I'll buy it and see what happens. And it's become more of a game for them. Am I right?
I think so, but as we said on the way in, Ed, from the 90s and the noughties, you could put 4 or 5 garages in your car under £100,000.
Yeah.
You can buy yourself a 124 Series E320 Cabriolet, which is a stunning car, really. Great technology for its day with the pop-up roll bars on the back of the headrests and whatnot. Lovely big power roof. £12,000-15,000.
You've seen that? You've seen people getting out of more expensive cars to go down. Yeah.
Because you can have 3 or 4 of those and enjoy them and not worry about using them, and they are a reliable classic.
So if we look, I was going to ask you, what do you answer when people do ask for investments? But perhaps we ought to just move on and think, well, where would you tip for 2017? You're thinking then that the lower end of the market is going to be quite active in 17 from what you're saying.
It depends where you define the lower end of the market. In the classic car world, below £150,000, which is a lot of money and out of reach for many people, but below that is where the activity is. I believe that's where it's going to be strong next year. A lot of cars fall into that category. You can buy an E-Type for that. An E-Type could be £250,000, but you can also buy one for £50,000.
Yeah.
So anything XK, I think, is going to remain quite strong. Heelys are doing very well. People seem to be more accepting of a US car swapped over to right-hand drive now because
that's 60s carbs. So you're saying that's still popular?
Yeah, still 60s, but
E-Types have done well this year.
They have. But moving forward to cars such as the 190 2.3 and 2.5 16 valve, if you can find a good low mileage one of those, great car to buy. Right. Lancia Evo, great car to buy. Yeah. Lancia Beta, do you remember that? Or the Alfa GTV when I was a boy, that's what I wanted. Yeah. And they're still... I won't say cheap, but they're a lot of car for the money. Yeah,
I have to confess, I've bought the Alfa Duetto Spider, and it just struck me. Alfa was at a price point of 30,000. It's like a mini Ferrari, isn't it? Or a sort of Alfa, and they're always slightly rarer than you think because they rust like crazy, and therefore not that many really good ones. And I think, I can see that as a very appealing car to own.
But coming forward again. RS2000. Yeah. Some of the Sierra variants, anything that's got a whiff of motorsport about it, I think is going to be
AMG for me.
I
used to sell an AMG product, and they made it in the sort of 90s and the early 2000s. They made it in such limited numbers. People don't really realise. And our friends at the SL shop had an SLK 32 in stock recently. 45,000 miles, full Benz history. Silver, everything nice about it. Great little car, 350 horsepower, and they had that up at 17,495. I mean,
amazing amount of car.
I don't,
It's an SLK.
It's a classic
car. It's an SLK. No, sorry, mate. I can't do an SLK.
So, say the word. We say hairdresser's car.
Yes.
I'll buy a CLK 63 black. I'd have one of those. Yeah.
But how about a CLK 55? The second generation. In fact, that first generation of CLK, the 55, which was a 380 horsepower V8, and they came with that amazing black and silver leather. You never see those. I'd buy one in a heartbeat, but you never see them. That's a rare car.
Because everyone's throwing them away.
I think the best cars you can buy really are the cars that you can buy at a certain level that you can afford, and you can enjoy it, and you can get out of and swap into something else. I think that's where the market will go, and that's the great thing about the 30,000, 50,000 point. If you're careful, and Alphas, and I think you can't go wrong. Air-cooled 911 in the 80s. You can't go wrong. It feels special. It makes a different noise to a regular car. Yeah. It's 911 shape, and the great thing about Porsche is there's every variation within the range of 911 that you can enjoy, from the right up the GT3, or you can have the Targa or whatever. There is just one for every occasion, sort of thing. Yeah. That's why I think the 911 has scored so. Ferrari, I look at 348, the late 348 and the 348 Spider to me look like value at the moment. I'd always have them above a 308.
But isn't it funny how that car has, how cars grow into themselves? Like the Porsche 964, which again was the sort of odd one out of the range, wasn't it? And everyone went, "Oh, it's a 964." Yeah. Now all of a sudden everyone likes them because they've come of age. Yeah. And the 348 has come of age. And you look at the architecture in the cockpit and the look of the car.
If I recall, 10 years
ago, you looked at it and thought, now I look at it and think, oh, that's quite cool.
Yeah. And they actually, I think they were a good car to drive, if I remember. They weren't a bad car, weren't they? The 348.
The late one was. It was a bit of a dog. They went completely wrong when they first came out. They got their arse kicked by Honda NSX, and they had a revamp. And the late, if you can find a late 348 or the Spider, which came through all the additional mods to the chassis, they actually are a bit of a surprise. I've done a group test with them, and it was a surprise of the group. The Rini exhaust and
didn't the 348, the chairman of Ferrari at the time, said this is the worst car we've ever built, off the record, to a journalist. Yeah. And then
that's a Gerald Ratner moment.
Yeah, it was a Gerald Ratner, and he didn't. Everyone then went, "Oh, this is a terrible Ferrari," when it actually wasn't. Ferraris are never terrible.
No, it wasn't. And then it went into 355, which was really beautiful, and the 5-valve head. It gave them such a kick, the NSX, that they really improved it. But the 348 Spider is the last one with a manual roof. You get the 355, it's a bit of a nightmare on the roof with electric roof. Every dealer has their fingers crossed when a potential customer does the folding roof. It works. Yeah, something I think that's happened in 2016. We've seen the new collector cars arrive on the scene, and I highlight the 911R and the F12 TDF, those sort of things. Ed, what have you seen happening in that market?
One of the things that we hear a lot, and people will see it on social media, is the assumption that people who are paying big bucks for things like 911Rs, up to £500,000. We've heard talk of $1 million. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But there is this assumption that these people don't know what they're doing. Yeah. So in terms of price, one of the things I would always say is, just because someone's willing to pay what appears to you or I crazy money for a £120,000 car, 3 or 4 times it's what you pay from a Porsche dealer if you were lucky enough to get it new, is that these people aren't they're wealthy, and by definition normally these wealthy guys, all wealthy buyers, know what they're doing. They know what they're about. They're not going to go and splash out £500,000 on an 911R because they can. Yeah. They're thinking, right, I really want one of these, and there are a lot of these guys out there. The number of the wealthy globally, as we all know, the last decade has exploded. Yeah. So there is a huge marketplace for those cars. Would I pay that money for one? No, I don't think I would. Then again, if I had 50 million in the bank, I might well do. If I really wanted one, why not?
I have to have butt in it, because I have a bit of an opinion. I cannot understand these purchases, because the manufacturer, if he's got any sense, will see what he can fetch for a 911R and think, well, I priced that a bit wrong. I ought to come out of a manual GT3, won't he? If I was Porsche, so I'm sitting at the board, because they can be replaced. Well, I would imagine so. But if you have an F40 or a GTO, that's it. That's how many they made. They're never coming back. So its value is easier to justify than you can on a 911R or a F12 TDF. And an F12 TDF, the F12 is pretty Looney Tunes anyway at 770 horsepower, and they're available around, say, 200,000 versus 900, even £1 million for a F12 TDF. They're not £800,000 better. So I just worry that's a flash in the can of 2016, and maybe in 17 when Ferrari or Porsche come out with the updated GT3, maybe that will calm down. I don't know. I can't see it going any higher than it is now.
No, but I think that's a feature of the market.
Definitely a feature of the
people
market,
will say
yeah.
that the manufacturers have got it wrong. I think Porsche have got it right, because in actual fact, you know, they're not overpricing their cars. They're getting the market to do that once they've sold them. So that's nothing to do with them, really. They're never going to stop it. Ferrari are never going to stop people from doing it. And I think as we see larger and larger volumes of cars coming into, you know, of supercars coming into the market, new cars, people are going to want the differentiation of having the one that no one else had.
Yes.
So,
yes.
you know, if you think about the F40, how many did they build of those?
About
1,200, yeah.
1200.
And how many other cars were they producing? In actual fact, relative to the number of cars Ferrari were producing at the time, they made quite a lot of them.
Yeah.
Relative to the number, how many F12 TDFs are there? I don't know, 500?
No,
It's
quite a lot. 700, I think.
Relative to the volume of other cars they're producing at the time, it's a much smaller number than the F40 was.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, they're banking on that, I think.
Yeah, if there is a positive in it, the manufacturers say, well, we'll do more special cars. So I think in 17, 18, we're actually going to see more of these limited run cars, which is only actually good, because they're instantly the ones that, you know, the guys that we're talking about will go out and buy. And then in the future, in 10, 20 years, they will be the classic cars that we'll see at Salon Privé on the lawn. Oh, it's a, you know,
I think
the
the other thing,
F14.
actually, we've just had the new, you know, Ferrari have just revealed the new J50.
Yeah.
Which is a 488, you know, rebodied, and they've done whatever it is they've done. You know, they've waved their magic wand over the car. It looks amazing.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to see more of these bespoke cars. Ferrari are really getting into that bespoke market now. Aston Martin are obviously looking to go that way. Porsche, not so much, I don't suppose, but that's quite an exciting development. And those cars, you know, imagine if you managed to get hold of a J50.
Yeah.
You'd be, you know, what are they going to be worth in 2-3 years' time?
The only thing, you know, the Aston, the DB4 GT, and obviously Jaguar have done the XKSS and the lightweight E-Type. The only downside of those is they're for track use only, because the regulators that will see it as a new car, and it doesn't have all the equipment on it for a new car. What I'm hearing on the grapevine is once it goes to the owner can generally get them registered. But that's the only downside of the reproduction, the Aston DB4 GT type of vehicle. But anyway, at the new end, I think we're going to see more exciting cars coming because of that.
And that's a good point that you've made there, Harry. Because in actual fact, this isn't just about the thing, about the car. It's about the doors that it opens. So if you get a DB4 GT or a Vulcan, you know, that's a great day out if you've got the wherewithal to go out and fly around the world, drive these cars at different tracks, network with people, take them to events. You know, how much are you paying for the car and how much are you paying for the access to that environment? Yeah. So, you know, it's fantastic for the
It's an amazing business we're involved in, isn't it? Great to hear your thoughts, I have to say. We could rabbit on, I think, forever on this subject, as people do, and I'm sure you do down the pub as well. But thanks, Rob, thanks, Ed, for coming in, discussing this. Been fun to do a different sort of video this time. If you enjoyed it, keep watching, keep subscribing. More videos along very soon.